bring Sal on from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Sal Paolantonio, if you can hear me, thanks very much for this, for joining us. I know it was not an easy thing to do. It's great to have you back.
Pat, I hope you can hear me. You got me, brother?
We got you. I got you.
All right. Yeah. Welcome to week one from Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah. Sao Paulo, Brazil is right. I was joking with Xander about that. The town's named after you, which must be a neat thing for you.
I get it everywhere I go. I just came.
It wasn't original. I admit it.
I just came from Eagles practice at the Corinthians Arena. Saw the stadium. It's a pretty impressive stadium. I think it will make a really good presentation on American television. The Eagles are starting to get their mind wrapped around this game. I think Nick Sirianni has done a pretty good job of messaging there. Jalen Hurts had quite a quote today. He said, for a kid from Houston, Texas, it's kind of surreal for him to be in this game. So I think their minds are right. Their bodies seem to be. They're doing a whole lot of stretching. They're obviously staying super hydrated. Tonight, they have an opportunity in their team hotel. I'm downtown Sao Paulo. I'm in the financial district in a very nice luxury hotel that the NFL has set us up in. The team is closer to the stadium. They're in an airport hotel up in near the stadium and near the airport. And tonight in an auditorium, I was just told that on a big screen they'll have it the Ravens and the Chiefs game beamed in, so the whole team can watch it together with plenty of a big buffet for the entire organization.
So give us a feel, Sal, for the city itself. Is the city excited about the game? Are there many Packers or Eagle fans down there? Do you think that the technical issues will be fine and that the field's going to hold up?
I believe. I don't know about the field. The field's we'll see, but there is definite excitement. They have welcomed the NFL. They've welcomed the media. They've welcomed the players here. There's a big ESPN Brazil operation based here, and ESPN Brazil is very, very popular. And they were all over. The media was all over the event today. They met with the press. The Eagles met with the press, and they seemed quite excited about the game. So there's that. I mean, I would say just traveling around town, this is a city of 23 million, Pat. 23 million.
Is that all?
So that 23 million people can swallow up any event. I don't care if it's Taylor Swift or the National Football League. Yeah. So it's a big, teeming, mammoth city with a diverse population. So I get the sense that, the NFL right now is just dipping its toe into the South American market.
Right. All right. Sal, let's talk about the Eagles right now before we get to the Packers, which is a fascinating story too. But the Eagles debuting two new coordinators, Kellen Moore on the offense, Vic Fangio on the defense. Let's start with the offense. What kind of a feel do you get? Where do you think the Eagles are coming into this game offensively? Obviously, off a very tough 1-6 finish in 2023.
Well, I think, Pat, their hope offensively, and it will start against the Packers, is to create mismatches, matchup problems individually with their talent and their speed and their strength. And then with a lot of pre-snap movement, a lot of formation variation. We were not allowed to film any portion of the walkthrough today. They closed off all the cameras after the stretching because, they don't want anybody to see what kind of complexity they are installing. Last year, they were last in pre-snap motion. This year, under Kellen Moore, they will get more eye candy for defenses to confuse them. So, I think that's the number one thing. I think the addition of Johan Dotson is interesting because they really felt like they needed one more guy with speed who can win in the red zone. He had a lot of drops last year. He didn't have a lot of catches per target.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I misspoke. Catches per route.
Okay.
So that means that he was out in a lot of pass routes that didn't bear fruit for whoever was playing quarterback, whether it was
Yeah.
Carson Wentz or Taylor Heineke or whoever.
Yeah. Well, Sal, the team they're playing tomorrow night is ample evidence of a team that if you can field 3 really good wide receivers on a given play, I think it helps you exponentially as opposed to the Eagles really having 2. What do you think, with or without Dotson? What can the Eagles do? What can they exploit against the Packers when the Eagle offense is on the field?
Well, the hope is that you're creating a lot of one-on-ones. Right? They have a very good cover corner in Jareer Alexander. They also obviously spent a ton of money on the safety position. Jeff Hafley, their defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, wants a more aggressive defensive profile. Matt LaFleur talked about that today from the Packers practice, just how important it was to change the culture on their defense, create pressure, create turnovers. I think what you'll see is a very aggressive front 7 of the Packers tomorrow. You'll see a lot of 5 down linemen with 2 linebackers with a lot of man-to-man coverage. So what does that mean when you only got 2 linebackers? What does that spell? What do you want to do? You want to get the ball to Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
I mean, force those linebackers to cover Saquon out of the backfield. That, to me, is the key thing.
Right. That's going to be interesting to see. We'll see how fluid Sal Saquon, who I think is a prodigious talent. I always did. I think, he got wasted in New York for a number of years. I still think there's some tread on that tire and those tires too. Very interesting to see how quickly he assimilates into the offense. Now, Sal, the defense led by crusty old Vic Fangio, right?
Hey, Pat, don't knock crusty old.
No, I won't do that.
You and me are crusty old.
That's true. That's it. Yeah.
We are the crusty old school.
Okay. Fangio, though, I think he's fired up. I think he's fired up, Sal. Do you get that impression that he really wants to make this work? And what did the Eagles do specifically, Sal, the 11th hour shuffle at linebacker?
Well, that's a big question. So this is an 11th hour shuffle. Devin White did not make the trip. Frankly, it shocked me. It really did. I didn't think that he outplayed Nakobe Dean this summer. You're relying on Nakobe Dean, who has 4 starts. 4. Devin White was a first-round pick, who was an All-Pro in 2020 when the Bucs won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. He's a first-round talent. Did he play well last year? No, because he wanted a better contract.
Right.
And I figured that he was going to – I mean, he was doing a whole lot of really important leadership things this summer, texting players, making sure he was available to the media, being involved in every aspect of what you would expect a middle linebacker to do. Vic Fangio talked him up this summer. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
We won't know until we get a chance to really talk to Devin White. But Nakobe Dean, followed by Zach Bond, who comes over from the Saints, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Nakobe Dean's got to stay on the field.
Yeah.
That's a big issue.
Yeah. Sal, you sent me an amazing group of statistics in advance of this show tonight.
That's what I do, Pat.
One of which really struck me, Sal, many of them, one of many, but this one I think is fascinating. In 30 years, the Green Bay Packers have opened the season with only 3 quarterbacks. No other team has had fewer than 6. Jordan Love is only the 3rd Packer in 30 years to start an opening game at quarterback after Brett Favre and, of course, Aaron Rodgers, which I think is remarkable stability for an organization. Talk a little bit about Jordan Love, how fast this guy has progressed, and what kind of challenge he posits for Philadelphia tomorrow.
Well, I think you have to go back, Pat, to the game against Dallas in the playoffs. If you watch that game closely, the one thing that strikes you about Jordan Love is he has very precise, compact movements within the pocket when he has the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of wasted motion. So he's efficient and fluid, like Rodgers in many ways.
He reminds me very much of Aaron Rodgers. You're correct.
Right? Just that aspect of it, footwork, precise movement, efficiency of movement, which allows a quarterback to be accurate and allows a quarterback to make quick decisions. And that's what you saw against the Dallas Cowboys. So what you got to do is try to speed up the decision-making process. The only way, in my view, that you can do that is you got to create pressure either through winning one-on-one matchups, or don't be afraid to bring the blitz on third down or in the red zone. Even if you think you're going to expose your defense a little bit, you've got to be able to quicken his decision-making process, or he'll eat you alive.
Yeah. I mentioned at the top of the show, Sal, how the last 2 years, the unders are 23-9 versus the overs, because the offenses don't play in the preseason and nobody shows anything more exciting than a run up the middle. Do you have a feel for which of these two offenses might be slightly ahead in terms of not treating this as a preseason game?
I would say the Eagles. Yeah, I would say the Eagles. The Eagles need to score 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals. They win the game. That's the way it is to me. But this, Pat, the number one thing that we have talked about all summer long on your radio show on 1210 is this is a one-score league that has been decided over and over again in the fourth quarter of overtime. Last year, you had the highest percentage of games decided by one score. And you got to have 2 things in the fourth quarter or overtime or on third down. You have to have a quarterback who does not turn the ball over in critical situations, and you need to have the stamina of a pass rush. And that, to me, is the key thing.
Yeah.
Pat, we're on the 26th floor of the luxurious downtown Sao Paulo Hilton Hotel.
Nice.
We are in the.
Is that your suite there? That's not your suite, I think.
We are in the executive Paolantonio Sao Paulo suite. I am
very nice. All right, Sal. I hope I got you for a couple more minutes. I just want to ask you this. Just give me some, and you just throw these out. Some overall storylines, like maybe top 3 storylines in the NFL as the NFL opens its 103rd season. What would you say?
Pat, the number one storyline for me is, can Aaron Rodgers stay on the field? If Aaron Rodgers stays on the field, the Jets have a top 5 defense. They have a championship defense. And if Aaron Rodgers stays on the field, I have the Jets as one of my final 4 teams in the NFL this year. If it's not the Jets, I think it could be the Dolphins. Yeah. I really do. Now, you look at the end of the season schedule of the Dolphins, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
But I like the Jets. And look at that line, Pat, on that opening game in San Francisco.
Dude, it is striking.
Pat,
striking sound.
Those boys in Sin City are telling you that is going to be decided in the fourth quarter with either Brock Purdy or Aaron Rodgers with the ball in his hands.
Yep. I think that's a really good one. Now let me try this one out on you, Sal. The Chiefs trying to become the first team ever to win 3 straight Super Bowls. You just mentioned about the Jets being a formidable challenge for them. But will the Chiefs have the mindset to grind out another season to get to January?
I think that they do. They have the ingredients for it. They obviously have the coach and the quarterback, and they have Chris Jones and Steve Spagnuolo. I don't know how in the world, Pat, general managers all over the National Football League allowed Andy Reid to draft Xavier Worthy, the fastest guy in the NFL draft. That blew my mind. If I'm a general manager at the bottom of the first round and I see Xavier Worthy there and his 4.32 speed, I take a flyer on him only to keep him out of the hands of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think they have the ingredients, and that's my second storyline for sure. I think the third storyline is this Detroit's year?
Yeah.
Detroit, never been to a Super Bowl,
has
not won an NFL championship since Dwight David Eisenhower was in the White House. You remember that, Pat?
I remember. I look like him now, so yeah, I do remember Dwight D. Eisenhower. Yes.
So that to me is the third storyline. I think it's a distinct possibility. I have my final 4. I always do this in the first show of the year. Kansas City, the Jets, Pat. The Jets.
Yeah.
if Rodgers stays healthy. That's the big if. Detroit and Philadelphia, Pat. That's my final four.
Very good. Very good, Sal.
Pat, I'd like to give a shout out to my intrepid field producer, Brian Franey, Bronxville, New York, who I travel with everywhere. We did the Super Bowl together in Super Bowl 52. We've done, I don't know, how many Super Bowls have we done together? Maybe 10 or, yeah, I think it's more than that. He says 7. I think it's more 10 or 12. But, I mean, he figured out how to get me on This Week in Pro Football on the inaugural week, Pat. I tell you, that you gotta have a first mate, and he has been a first mate throughout my trip here to Brazil. In fact, when they said, Sal, we'll send you to Brazil, I said 2 things. 1, am I getting a first class seat on the plane? And 2, is Brian Franey coming with me? Those are my requirements.
All right, and you got them both, I hope.
Yes,
Brian too. We thank Brian because it's always good.
I will send along your gratitude to my friend Brian Franey.
Well, listen, thanks for taking all this time, Sal. I want you to enjoy that suite now. And,
yeah.
We'll have a ton even to talk about next week. It's going to be fascinating to see how this unfolds. And we got plenty of weeks to go. And thanks very much for joining me again. All right,
Pat, we're back This Week in Pro Football for another year. What is this, 23 years, Pat?
Yeah, this is 23, Sal, like Gunsmoke.
Like we're better than Gunsmoke, Pat.
That's right. And don't forget, everybody, Sal Pal again, hosting the NFL Matchup Show on ESPN, and the host and the author of How Football Defines America, which is coming out again for another printing. Please go pick that book up, and one of Sal's best books. So, Sal, thanks again, pal. We'll talk to you real soon. All right. That was great of Sal to join me there from only 4,700 miles away. Thanks very much to Xander for being able to piece that together. Let's take a break here. When we get back, I'm going to give you some predictions for how I think this season's going to unfold. We'll look at it compared to 23 and tons more here on the opening edition of This Week in Pro